This might be the game of the century. Look at this position. I'm excited. Please give me someone good. Okay, we got Vincent Vega, 2800. No problem. We're going with the bird. We're going with the bird as usual, 2800. Vincent Vega, who is this? Do we get a name? Marco? Oh! This guy's only an IM? This guy's FIDE is like above 2500. He's extremely good. I know this guy. I've played with him in Blitz tournaments. He is very good. I think I made a draw, but anyway. Alright. Knight h6 is a weird move. I'm going to play b3. I think his plan is to go for a quick g6 and bishop g7, so I want to anticipate that with bishop b2. I'm going to throw my bishop to b5 here.
Nope.
Oh, okay, that's what he's doing. c4 looks very interesting, but then c4 is met by d4. I really want to go for something crazy here with rook g1. Let's go for it. I don't know what's going to happen here. The idea is if knight f5, I can quickly throw my pawn forward. Crazy things are coming down the board. Yeah, again, the idea was that if c4 or d4 happens, then that's going to really bunch up my diagonal. And I also just don't want that pawn to be stuck there then, because it's going to block my bishop in all these circumstances. It's much better if he chooses to block my bishop, that I can always undermine it with c3, if need be. Really interesting stuff going on here. I'm honestly quite curious as to why this guy's not a GM. His FIDE is in like the mid 2500s. He's very strong. Alright, let's play e4. Knight g4. Knight g4, interesting stuff. Okay, I'll start with h3 and then knight f6 and then I'll play d3. I've gotten a... This is such a strange position. So, of course, I have an enormously weak score on e3, but he does not have any way in. So, this is just a crazy position now. Really, really crazy. My bishop is going to be bad here. That should not be good. I really want to take. I could take, I could also play f5. Both are really interesting. Right, let's take. Alright, so c3 of course is a critical idea, but the problem with c3 is that it's going to eventually liberate his bishop, which I'm not really a fan of. Knight h5. That's some weird stuff going on there. Where's his knight going? His knight is coming to g3. Alright, let's play g4, knight f4, queen d2, knight g6. I gotta hurry up. I gotta start playing way quicker. Let me play knight bd2. I just need to get my pieces out. You know, there's no way I could be worse here. He's wasted way too much time for me to be worse. He's made like 10 moves with this knight everywhere. If he plays b5, I'll play knight d6 happily. Well, let's first start with queen d2. Let's push him away a little. I'm going to take that. If he doesn't do anything, he could take on d3 or g2, but then in the end, I don't think I have anything to worry about there. Alright, takes. Is he going to play c3? Interesting stuff. This guy's going for it. He's going for all the glory. Knight b4 is going to be super annoying. Knight b4, I have to stick my king on d1. Yeah, okay, let's go. King d1. It's not the move we wanted to play, but it's the move we had to play. g4, oh my god, this is super interesting. This is so strange. This is such a strange position. He can't break on f6. Okay, of course he wants to play a4. If I play a3... Yeah, let me play a3 first. I gotta kick his knight back. Cannot let any of these pawns push. If he pushes here, I'm going to take or take this way and then seal everything up with bishop d3. My knight is coming to f5. Things are tense here. I'm going to play rook b1 at the right time because he's threatening to sacrifice here. I might play rook g2 also. What is going on in this position? Alright, let's play rook b1. Oh, yeah, rook b1 is fine. Everything is just barely holding together here. Rook g2, just defending this pawn a little extra. I'm going to throw this pawn up the board very soon. What is happening here? Oh my god, this is such a crazy position. He has to play something like c4. He needs to just throw this in and hope that something sticks, because otherwise I'm going to just steamroll him here. Yeah, he has to do it. A good move. If I take this way, d3 kills me, so I have to take this way. He could take on d3, but then I take on b8. Knight c6. Okay, I got to keep everything closed. Rook b5. Just sticking in. I do not want to trade and allow his queen down here. Even then, I'm probably still okay for the moment, but it's getting trickier. Alright, I don't see what he's threatening here. We're just getting low on time. I'm throwing my pawns forward. This might be the game of the century. You could definitely put this game on my tombstone if this turns out victorious. Look at this. Look at this. Everything is coming into the action. My rook is just going to come here and deliver checkmate. What is happening? The bird. The bird is the word. Okay, let me take with the queen. E takes weakens my king a bit more. I'll take with the queen. Takes. Alright. Oh. Okay, queen h3. I like this. I'm attacking this rook. I'm attacking this. I'm attacking a bit of everything. Okay, I can take. I got it! I won! The bird takes a 2,866 rated chess player. There we go. Oh my god. The bird. This is such an insane game. This is such an insane game. I can't tell you how crazy this was. Like, it's of course nice to win, but it's much nicer that I don't even care about the 2800, honestly. Like, that's an awesome part of this. But the big part, look at this position. This entire center is closed here. My king is hiding on d1, safe and sound, and I just slowly throw my pawns up at the castled king. Insane strategy here. Alright, welcome back. If you made it through that entire game, congrats. It was a really crazy game. It was rough and tumble. It's one of the coolest games I've ever seen, honestly. Sadly, as I checked it with the computer, I did not play it correctly at all. This is normal, though, for the bird, by the way. The bird is an opening. It's really uncharted territory. Almost no one knows what they're doing. It's sort of like the frontier. I liken myself to a Lewis and Clark back in the 1700s as I traversed this newfound territory, because really, almost no professional players really bother go down this. What is the term? Bother going down these roads and these paths. These roads less taken, as they call them. So yeah, as you can see, there are a lot of mistakes. I had the computer run the analysis on this. A lot of mistakes, a lot of question marks, a lot of question exclams. I think the game was hella exciting. I think it was very cool. I still think it has a lot to impart to us, despite the fact that apparently it was heavily laden with mistakes. And yeah, let's look at it. So I started with f4, d5, knight f3, knight h6. I'm going for b3. I'm going for a really quick queenside fianchetto. Yeah, more recently I studied this variation, and after knight h6 I prepared d3, when the idea is after g6 I have this really cool novelty, queen d2. This is going to be coming out of my bird course, and I also was able to beat GM Trough in this line in Title Tuesday, and this is actually what got me a fair play check, I suspect, because
Chess.com just couldn't believe that I made this move with like half a second, but it was just because I'd prepared it. Anyway, long story short, I played a supercomputer move. They thought I was cheating, or they suspected I was cheating, and I was not cheating. So anyway, in this game I played b3. My opponent played c5. Bishop e2, knight c6, e3, a6. a6 makes a lot of sense. My bishop wanted to come out to b2. My bishop wanted to pin him. My bishop wanted to put his knight in the shackles, but alas, it's not going to happen. Here I really went for things on the fly. I really called an audible here, and I just threw in rook g1. And, you know, sometimes you just have to do that. Sometimes you have to wing it. Blitz games are the perfect time to wing things because, you know, even if you don't get it right, you might surprise them, and in the end it might work out. So rook g1, my opponent played d4. Apparently rook g1 is a big mistake, though. There are other lines in the bird in which rook g1 is fine. I think those are with this pawn blocking the bishop, though. Here, with their bishop able to have a visage of g4, I still can't really play g4. The idea of this type of move is that normally if they play something like e6, then g4, and I can play g5, and I got this really nice bishop, and these pawns digging in. Really beautiful position. So anyway, so rook g1, d4. My opponent is just immediately crunching on my bishop. I want my bishop to get out, but I got to figure out the proper way to do it. I do not want to take, which would rupture my structure. e4, knight g4. And yeah, now I don't know what was going on with my opponent. I think he wanted to play like Ring Around the Rosie or something. This knight moved around like 10 times. I have to say it's completely news to me that that in this position I'm just much worse. I would have assumed that this is more or less equal. It seems like both of us have been playing really unorthodox style, and in general when you're the white pieces, when you're playing from the white side, you have the luxury of making one mistake. That's a very famous chess expression. I first heard Levon Aronian say it in an interview many, many years ago, and yeah, it's very appropriate. So it's quite surprising that I'm worse. I think it has to just do with the enormous lack of space here, and it also has to do with the fact that I have no clear plan of development. I would like to play d3 and knight d2, but if I do that, then this knight is going to dig into e3, and that is going to be a steed. That's going to be a steed to remember. Excuse me there, I lost my train of thought. So h3, we're kicking the knight out. We're booting that steed out. Knight f6. So anyway, h3, knight f6, the steed keeps on going. The steed keeps on running. It's going to e4. We're going to play d3. e5. Yeah, it's really shocking to me that this is just -1. Apparently somehow, structurally, this is just terrible for me. Yeah, apparently takes is also a mistake. I should have at least kept things closed. Yeah, isn't that crazy? Look at this. Takes, and I'm apparently losing here. I did want to talk about this a lot, though, at the same time. You know, I'm a GM. I'm the arrogant GM. And people often say, like, Raven, you know so much about chess. And I tell them that it's just because I know the structures that I play. And alas, that's what happens. Here in this position, these are openings that I'm still getting used to. This is an opening that's relatively new, and I'm playing it at a very low level, right? Like, being lost out of the opening with white is a terrible result. But you know, as I've been playing the bird opening time and time again, this has happened to me quite often, because it's just such a new, like, dense, vast, complicated, like, knowledge set, like, information system. I don't even know what you would call it, but pretty much the whole idea is that the bird is a perfect opening because it's so far off of the mainstream, and it's so hard for an opponent who's otherwise well prepared and well knowledgeable to be able to acclimatize to. And so for that reason, I think it's really great. I think it's a perfect system. I think the bird is the word. And yeah, I'm really excited for it. I think as time goes by, my play with this is going to get better and better. I'm all in on the bird. I've cashed in all my chips. So knight h5. My opponent just keeps on going Ring Around the Rosie. Yeah, it would have made more sense just for him to play knight d7, and he's going to take here. Okay, objectively this does look very nice for him, but even so, like, takes, I play knight f3. Yeah, this does look quite good, honestly. One of the ways that you can always evaluate these systems, this looks like a reverse King's Indian system, and then there's a few problems here. First of all, in a reverse King's Indian, if the side playing against the King's Indian has control of the King 4 square, keep in mind this is their King 4, right, because we're counting from their side. If they have control of the King 4 square and it's a solid outpost, then already they're a bit better. Another problem here is that my bishop is completely misplaced here. My bishop is just pointed into concrete. My bishop would be much better placed on c1 where it could come to f4. So, all in all, perhaps this isn't like a losing disadvantage, but it definitely does make my position worse. I wouldn't assume this is the end of the world, though, at the same time. I don't know. It's just something about my... I've survived so many terrible birds at this point that the eagle really has to suffer for me to be paying attention and for me to be a bit scared about the situation. So knight h5, knight d2, knight f4, knight c4. I'm bringing my knights out. Knights are digging into this e5 square. My opponent plays b5. And, yeah, shockingly, I'm just lost still. All of these positions, I'm just dead lost. I thought that this position was super interesting, and lo and behold, my opponent lost his way, and I was able to win. So, like, at the end of the day, you know, for all those people who are in the middle of writing me nasty emails saying, "Oh, I bought your bird course. I believed in you. I believed in the bird," and it turns out you got in losing positions. That's not the case at all. You're going to get wild positions. Some of them are going to be losing. Some of them are going to be winning. But the point is that you're going to have good chances in both because experience is going to play such a factor. I know I just said it, but I'm going to say it again. I'll say it once and I'll say it again. It doesn't matter what the objective evaluation is if you don't know how to play the structure. And in this case, neither of us, I'm a 2,500 FIDE, 2460 technically, and my opponent's a 2,550 FIDE. Neither of us really knew what we were doing. I played queen d2, I hit his knight, he takes. My idea was that if his knight moves back, then I can play knight d6 and I'll just snag his bishop pair, and I should be fine here. I would bet that this is equal. Because now at this point I've gotten rid of one of his best bishops, and honestly I'm not even sure here, but like let's just see. Maybe I'm still worse. Wow. Wow. I guess I don't know anything, guys. I don't know what else to tell you. Crazy stuff though. Really crazy. Yeah, okay, honestly, thinking about it, once they castle, my king is going to be very weak here, and a5, a4 is gonna really destroy the queen side here. So going back, so queen d2 takes on c4, queen takes f4, pawn c3, bishop c1, knight b4, king d1. Position is minus 1.2. Still not the best number at all. I was fine with my position though. I thought it was a really crazy position. Like look at this. What is happening here? At this point, my king is completely rock solid here. There is no way in. The only issue here is that my rook is out of the game. I'm never going to be able to bring my rook over to the other side if it needs to be there. So that was the big problem. Looking at this now, I think c4 would always be an interesting idea. He needs to strike at my king sooner or later. So even c4 right now would be interesting. The idea is if takes, then d3 could be interesting, right? Because something like takes, knight takes, all of a sudden the attack is really in full force here. I would assume that, yeah, black must be winning here. Black must be completely winning. Like c2 and their threats of queen d1, there's threats of bishop b4, there's threats of queen c3. Queen d2 runs into queen takes e4. This is looking bad, guys. This is looking bad, y'all. And the other idea is if b takes c4, then bishop d7, bishop a4. And, yeah, there's just going to be this enormous pressure on this. I was just talking about this principle the other day. This is just breaking on the strongest point, right? It looks like everything is super strong here, but the idea is that when black plays c4, we're going to have to discoordinate our pieces in some way. And that's not going to be comfortable for the king. So black plays bishop e7. Yeah, perhaps black should have just played c4 sooner. And now I just started running. I was really getting excited. I was getting full of the vinegar at this point. g4, castles, and g5. We're just throwing the pawns straight up the board. I just want to throw my pawns up and then go for checkmate. The crazy thing is that I do have a lot of pieces that can all sort of help out in this this kingside attack. Maybe also this bishop, though. I'm not sure. Maybe you could sneak into h3 and f5 if the time is right, but it's going to need to figure out a way to work with this c8 sleeper. So my opponent played a5. I played a3. I'm kicking him out. Apparently this makes things even worse. Yeah, I remember I was looking at this with the computer. They could take, and play a4, and I'm just done. And this is the whole issue here, right? My board is split in half. These pawns, going back, these pawns just split the board in half, and so as soon as he attacks me on this, in this general zone, it's almost impossible for all of these pieces to help out. So a very simple plan here of just a4, taking, and then attacking my king is almost impossible to defend, right? Like, if I was able to just move my bishop over to c4 here, I would be fine. But unfortunately, because of this massive pawn wall, this Rocky Mountains that's dividing the board in half, I can't do it, and I should just be losing. I think the computer showed a cool line of, like, b takes a4, queen a5, king d1, and then c2 check. The c2 check is really critical, because if they take king e1 and it looks like white is surviving, I can always play rook g2 to kick the queen out of c2 stuff. But yeah, c2 check, king takes c2, queen c3, and my rook is just going to drop on a1. And meanwhile, if I play king e2, then queen c3. This obviously is not comfortable. Yeah, this looks hella dangerous. This looks hella spicy. c4. c4 is going to be painful. Look at this. Takes, bishop c5, and d3 stuff coming. You better get your helmets on, guys. This is going to be terrible. Oh, I'm also just realizing queen takes c4 just wins the rook. That's even simpler. So yeah, as I was saying, a4 would just win. Anyway, lucky for me, though, my opponent did not play like a computer. Instead, he played knight c6. I pushed my pawn to a4. I did not want to allow this crunch time. If I allow a4, something is going to have to budge here, whether I take here or whether I push. I want to keep as many files as close possible around this king, especially on the queen side, because the queen side I'm only going to ever have 2 pieces. So, you know, he has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that can all come over to the queen side. I don't like those chances. I don't like those numbers. Those aren't good odds. If those were Vegas odds, those would be some of the worst Vegas odds ever, 2 against 5. So bishop e6, and my opponent is just fixing up for the attack here. I played knight h4. I think at this point, yeah, the computer wanted something else. The computer just wanted me to throw my pawns forward. Somehow or another, knight h4 is a bit too slow. It makes a lot of sense, though. I'm just digging into f5 and starting to dig into some other important squares. Knight b4, knight f5, rook b8. Here I got to start being very careful. There are ideas of knight c2, king c2, and bishop b3. Splat. My king would drop like a tomato. I got to play rook b1. Defending. And yeah, somehow or another, the computer's just saying I'm lost this entire game. Make of it what you will. I think the game is super interesting. The fact that two 2,500 FIDEs didn't really know what they were doing is sign enough that the objective evaluation is not that relevant. King h8. And I just kept defending with rook g2. Apparently this was also a bit of an inaccuracy. I need to just immediately go for the jugular here with h4, h5. But anyway, let's continue. So rook g2, rook e8. Yeah, my opponent just hasn't figured out what to do. I think back here he needs to just play c4 now. He needs to go for something. So queen d7, look at that beautiful move. I remember this. I was afraid of queen d7. The idea is if he plays c4, I can never take here because d3 is going to completely split the position open. But on the flip side, c4, I was planning on taking with b, but then he's going to take with this queen on a4, and that's just a disaster. Like, for instance, look at this. If I play rook g2, premeditating this, then c4 takes, queen takes a4. He still has a very simple plan. Just queen a2, bishop d7, and bishop a4. My rook is going to be lost. Like, I could play h4. Alright, I'm realizing now this bishop is hanging, so maybe he has to deal with some other things first. Like c4 or b takes, he would have to play bishop c5. So let's say I play h4. Now queen takes h4, h5. Yeah, my computer's freezing. Queen a2, rook b3, and there should be several winning continuations here for him. Bishop d7 looks the simplest with bishop a4. Honestly, at this point, though, g6, this really looks like anything could happen here. Bishop a4, takes, king h8. Perhaps there's no checkmate here. Let's just check with the computer. Apparently queen g8 is force mate in 8, so I made a mistake here, but there must be some type of win here. Takes, here, knight takes c2. This is the idea. So first of all, if they trade, we have a check. Yeah, sorry, black has a check, not we. We're white. Unfortunately, we're getting smoked. But yeah, black will just check on e3 and then check on d1 and take here, and you know that's the whole game. It's mate in 14 apparently. But yeah, so knight takes c2, and if the rook takes, then just rook takes b1. And this is obviously going to be over. A really simple plan is rook b2, takes, pawn takes, and then black will make another queen on b1. Terrible stuff. Painful, to be frank. Anyway, though, fortunately for me, my opponent did not find the computer move. Instead, my opponent played king h8. He was just biding his time. Looking back at the game, I think already at this point he was low on time. And yeah, this is a really interesting position, right? Because if he doesn't immediately go for the attack, I'm going to just start pushing my pawns up, and sooner or later, my play on the king side is going to be at least commensurate to his on the queen side. Rook e8, h4, c4, takes, knight c6. Yeah, and this was apparently the big blunder. He could still play knight a2 and have good chances here. My bishop is still a real doo-doo piece here. It's just a real target. I tell my students often that bishops can be the worst doo-doo pieces on the market. And the idea is true, honestly, because this bishop just really can't do anything. When bishops are bad, they're just sitting ducks. When bishops are bad, they're just vulnerable targets that are just like waiting by the side of the road to get I don't even know what expression I'm going for, but you get the point. They're just sort of like what would be a good expression here? My editor will throw in something. Editor, I give you permission. Just make up an analogy and put it somewhere on the screen. So anyway, yeah, knight a2 would have been better just to target this bishop. So knight a2, rook b5, bishop b4, h5, rook c8, g6, bishop takes f5, queen takes f5. Yeah, apparently queen takes is a bit of a mistake. I should have just taken this way. Look at this pawn armada going. Boom, 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 boom. There we go. So takes, queen takes, and yeah, this was just a really perfect game, honestly. Like, never mind the fact that there was an enormous amount of errors. Such a beautiful position. I really love this g6 idea. This is a classic breaking idea. Part of it is just that, you know, if I play h6, they can always play g6 and they can keep things close. So the idea is you want to initiate tension against two pawns. That way, no matter what, some file is going to get opened here. Whether he lets me take on f, then the g file gets opened. Whether he lets me take on h, when the g file again gets opened. Or if he trades, then again something else will get opened. So takes, 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 takes. And yeah, the game is just going to be over here. I just have way too many pieces coming over. Rook f8. Yeah, this was like the last blunder, I think. What did he have to do here? He could have played queen h4 and tried to survive. At this point, though, things are going very badly. Finally, my bishops, you know, a lot of diagonals are starting to open up. If I could get one bishop here and the other bishop here, I would have fantastic bishops. So at this point now, my bishop pairs could really start to come in handy. And yeah, so anyway, in the end of the game, rook f8, I played queen h3, and this is just a nice way to win. I'm going to take on h7. If they take here and they had to defend the checkmate, then I just picked up the rook, and my opponent just resigned here. As well he should, honestly. This game is just completely over. I'm going to play rook h2 soon, and if he ever plays h6, I can just chop on h6 with the nice checkmate, with the spicy platter. Yeah, but anyway, I did want to talk about this, though. I had a really cool option here. I could have played rook h2, and the idea is after takes, takes, I'm still winning here, believe it or not. I'm down a queen for a rook, but I have complete insulation here. His queen cannot get in. His queen is covered this way, it's covered this way. Meanwhile, I'm just going to take on h7, play bishop g2, bishop d5, and play for mate. This is, okay, apparently now computer is telling me something else. Don't worry about the computer. Feel free to trust in rook h2. Rook h2 is a cool move. Yeah, I'm very confused now by that, because the chess.com computer was saying that rook h2 was winning. Apparently h6 doesn't work, but come on, you really don't want to play a position like this, where you're down a queen, but you got a rook and like three rascal pawns on the come up. One's going to go here, one's going to go here. This bishop is going to sneak in for the check. It's a great position. Anyway, suffice to say, I think that this game has a lot to teach us. Primarily that, you know, as long as you keep the center closed, as long as you keep the lanes closed in front of your king can even sit in the middle of the board. And apart from that, you know, every single move that your opponent doesn't attack you, you should be figuring out a way to make counterplay. So many times I see my students in positions like this, where, you know, they're sort of under the attack, they're sort of in an uncomfortable situation, and then their opponent starts biding their time. And in that position, in that situation, you need to just start getting aggressive. You need to start going for the money. You need to start going for it. You need to start throwing your pawns forward and getting aggressive. And in that sense, h4, h5 was perfect here. So I think that this was really emblematic of a nice double-sided, double-edged position. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you next time.